All right, so let's cover atonement here. Atonement comes from, it's an English word that came from William Tyndale or Tinsdale in the 1500s. And basically what he did is he took the term Kippur, which is to cover in the Old Testament, and gave the word atonement. And atonement comes from a couple of different words that he put together. So you have at and one. So atonement is at one-ment. It's the same idea as covenant. It's taking two sides and having a reconciliation or bringing them together. That's what covenant means, right? Covenir would be to come together. That's a covenant. And so at one-ment is bringing God and man together. There is the higher law where God is coming down to men, condescending to men, and paying for man's sins, sacrificing for him. And then there is the lower law where man is reaching toward God to be at one with him by obedience and by prayer and by anything that's reaching upward toward God. So that's really what atonement means, is being at one. It has to do with covenant. But there's another meaning as well, and that has to do with covering. So Kippur, we think of the day Yom Kippur, which is a Jewish holiday, right? That is the Day of Atonement. Well, Yom Kippur really means Day of Covering. And Day of Covering is the same thing as atonement. So in the ritual of the Day of Atonement, the high priest would go into the temple, would go into the Holy of Holies, and would cleanse everything out with the blood of an ox and the blood of a goat, and etc. And he would cleanse the temple and cleanse the land and cleanse the people and reconcile God with man. It was also called the covenant of peace. Sometimes it's termed. So it would be the covering of this with the blood. That would be the payment. You would cover. And we see this imagery throughout the scriptures as well of covering. For example, when Adam and Eve lose their garments of light, they lose their covering. They lose their Kippur, the atonement in a sense. They lose that. And then when Jesus Christ or Jehovah makes garments of animal skins for Adam and Eve, he is giving them a covering, right? He's giving them a Kippur. He's giving them atonement. It's a representation of atonement. Now, we use the term atonement also in the sense of a verb, to atone for someone, and that is also correct. It's a payment, to pay for somebody else, or to pay for a past sin of yourself. It's payment. And we can see that in a couple of other words. Also attributed to William Tinsdale is the term mercy seat. So in the Holy of Holies, you had the Ark of the Covenant. And what covered the Ark of the Covenant, the lid that had the two cherubim with the wings on them, that was called the Kippuret, right? The covering. And so that would cover it. But it was also called, at least by William Tinsdale apparently, the mercy seat. Now think about the word mercy. We think of mercy as in the bowels of mercy and having compassion. But what does that really mean? What that means is you are paying for someone, right? You're paying the price of having empathy and suffering in behalf of somebody else. Think of the word mercenary. Mercenary would be a soldier who is paid by a different nation, usually, to come in and battle for them, to go to war for them. It's a payment. They're accepting payment as a soldier. Mercy, same thing, same term or word from where we get mercenary. So mercy is actually a payment. And so we have the law of justice, which is the lower law. Very important. But what supersedes that? It's the law of at one-ment from God. It's the law of covering from God. It's the law of mercy from God. His mercy, His grace is a covering. And we think of His glory as something that covers us, garments of glory. The temple garment is a covering. And so when we are naked or ashamed, so to speak. It's because we've been separated from God. And as we are covered in holy raiment or of glory, then we are reconciled in a sense with God. There is a payment there. It is a covering. And that is atonement at One-ment.